You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Robert Dumont.
Hey, how's it going?
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Robert?
I am a Philadelphia native, born and raised here. And then I left Philly when I graduated culinary arts school when I graduated high school in 1994, went to Baltimore for culinary arts school, graduated there in 1996, came back to Philly for a year, and then decided I didn't want to be in Philadelphia for winter anymore, so I went to Florida. Lived down in Florida for a while. Dad got sick, brought me back, and I've been going around Jersey, Maryland, and back to Philadelphia again in 2014. I'm a chef and owner of Farmstead Foods catering and food truck.
Now you said you grew up in Baltimore or you moved to Baltimore.
I moved to Baltimore to go to culinary arts school.
So I have one question for you. I'm from the East Coast myself. I have to ask, do you put ketchup on your eggs?
When I was a kid, I did. I stopped as I got older because it's not really healthy.
It's savagery. That's what it is. My whole family's from Baltimore. I'm from Ocean City, Maryland. So when I go and see my Baltimore family, it's ketchup on the eggs, and that to me means you're probably doing some shady shit on the side.
I never really made that revelation before, but yeah, it makes sense.
Look, I live my life by that. When I see somebody, like if I go to Denny's or something, I see somebody put ketchup on the eggs, you know to get up and walk the fuck out because shit's about to go down.
Yeah, I'm pretty funky with I like my eggs really runny. Loose. Most people think it's disgusting, but
I prefer it when you get like you grab the whole egg, but you don't let the yolk spill out. And then like you kind of
right.
cut the edges off on the side. So you eat those first, and then you grab the yolk before it splits, and then put it into your mouth and bite down and have it just pop right in your mouth.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Quail eggs are cool like that too. You like just kind of soft boil them. You just pop them right in.
Yeah, I like it like
They
that.
pop.
Less of a mess. But when it comes to getting into cooking, where did this like passion start from? I mean, and first of all, what are you cooking?
Uh, well, we cook a lot of different things. I have like ADD, so I can't do the same thing over and over again every day. I wish I could. It would make my life so much easier, and I'd probably make a ton more money. But I get bored, and then I kind of lose the passion with it. So then I got to find something else to cook. It also comes to what I like to eat. So, I cook things better if I like to eat it. We do a lot of like American classics with little modern twists to them, or some like fusion from a different cultural region, whether it's Latin, Mediterranean, Asian. Those are my three like main two go-tos. The passion for cooking came out of necessity, to be honest with you. Um, like I said, I grew up in Philadelphia, born and raised in Kensington, so we didn't have the easiest life growing up. There weren't a ton of opportunities for me when I got into high school. Had to start working right away, and the family business was either in a bar or in a restaurant. So that's where I went. I was bar backing with my dad on Mondays after school, cleaning out the beer cabinets and putting the beer orders away and doing that stuff. And then on the weekends, mom's restaurant, bussing tables and washing dishes. Then I got a job in a nursing home through high school, which really made me not want to get old. But it gave me like a
Hold on. You can't say that. Come on, look at all the amounts of Jello you can eat. They're
nah,
living the
man.
life, man. They pass that Jello my way. I'm like, can I just have that Jello cup? That's for Steve. He was in World War II. I'm like, well, Steve's passed out right now, and I would really like his Jello cup.
Yeah, no, they're not. It doesn't look. It's not looking like where you want to end up. Um, but yeah, when I got done high school, it was like, all right, what are you going to do with your life? And I was just cooking. I was working in like cheesesteak shops, banging the grill, flipping pizzas, and smoking a lot of pot and drinking all the time and partying. And my mom was like, you got to do something with your life. So you either got to go to school or get out of the house, because I'm not going to sit here and watch you do this. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to go to culinary school. So that's what they did. They shipped me off to culinary school. I went down to Baltimore. I did the 2-year program down there at Baltimore International Culinary College, right there at the Inner Harbor. And I was 20 years old when I graduated. They gave me a piece of paper that said I was a chef, but that was nowhere near close to the truth. I didn't barely know how to boil water, but no, I had a good background. Chefs there, they gave me a good solid base, but I still needed to learn a lot. So I went out and just started working line jobs, being a line cook.
It's crazy because when you start looking at the fact is when you're surrounded by something so much is that you can pick up everything you're around, like especially like you being a bar back at one point and then kind of going around and doing, just the necessity, the small jobs is where people start to realize like, hey, why don't I start doing this for myself? I'm at that point too where, I went to college, I did that, and I only went to college because it was just something to do. I mean, when I graduated high school, it was like I took a year off and it was like, I'm just going to work 2 jobs. I'm going to do this. And then after that, I was like, well, fuck that. I'm tired a lot. I don't like this. Like, I don't like working 2 jobs just trying to make ends meet. And then I decided to go off into school. And I honestly, the whole time I was going, the 4 years was just like, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in college. I'm in college. Oh, what are you going for? I don't know yet. I'm in college. That's my safeguard. That's what I'm gonna hide behind. And then once I got my diploma for just general education, I was like, well, what's next? Like, is it just because I have like the degree, doors are gonna open up for me? And people are like, no, the degree is like the minimum requirement now. You don't even, we don't even look at you if you have a high school diploma. You need to have a college diploma. And I'm like, well, so an associate's are like, no, 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 now you need a bachelor's is what everybody wants. I'm like, I got to go back to school to get my bachelor's now. They're like, yeah. And actually, sooner or later, by the time you get that, it'll be a master's. I'm like, well, shit, man. It made me, when I was in school, I should have took really a hold of the trade jobs that they were there. I took HVAC, but I fucked off the whole time. I mean, you give me a hammer and then expect me to actually do work with a hammer? No, 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 no. That's not how it works. I'm gonna beat the shit out of everything. I'm gonna be messing around in class. I don't know how many times when something was going on. We were in the shop working on HVAC units. I was just fucking off and stabbing my friend with a screwdriver because I was an idiot. And my buddy ended up taking the whole trade thing and doing it as a job professionally. I mean, he just bought a fucking another car. I'm like, dude, you have 4 you're not even using. He's like, I like staring at them. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't something that
Yeah.
you should be pouring your money into.
HVAC is where it's at, man. I said if I have kids, they're definitely not going in the kitchen, but I would tell them go into HVAC or electrical or something along that lines. Cars. I wish I could work on cars, but I don't like my hands getting dirty. So into the kitchen I went. I'm always fed. I'm never really cold, so I can't complain. Yeah.
Would you say that with culinary arts, there's kind of a little bit of a stigma in it when you were in school about it being kind of like a female position?
Not so much. Like when I went, it was in the mid to like going on late '90s, so it was almost like the heyday of that. Like the Food Network was starting out, and Emeril Lagasse was starting to do his thing. So we went from being like convicts and like rejects into this like star status, and it was weird for me because I grew up in like I saw like all the dudes that worked in the kitchen. They were all like really weirdos, or like they had drinking drug problems, or none of them were superstar chefs. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of where you ended up. It wasn't where you wanted to go.
It's what we say, they have the stories. That's where it's at.
And then they started to make this whole thing out where like, when I got out of culinary art school, or when I was in culinary art school and I was meeting adults for the first time, they were like giving me respect. Like they're like, oh, you're going to be a chef. And they like were treating me like I was going to be a doctor. And I'm like, yeah, I play with food and fire all day. I don't save lives. I don't understand why you're giving me this prop right now, but yeah, it's been kind of crazy over the last 25 years to watch that whole like shift of mentality in the perception of the chef. I still don't understand it to this day. Now we have these like bad boy chefs with all these tattoos and crazy hairstyles and the whole Guy Fieri type thing. And again, I'm just like, yeah, man, we're just playing with food here.
With just being a chef in general, I've talked to business owners like yourself that started from maybe going to culinary art school. I've talked to personal chefs, private chefs, main restaurant chefs. I've talked to people that haven't been involved in the chef industry, just got tossed in. One dude was working from Burger King and hopped right in. Um, but when it comes to the overall methods of cooking food, you see stuff like home bakers and a lot of these things turning into passions. Mostly because at one point you're just sitting around, you're like, why don't I educate myself a little bit more and look a little bit more closely to food? But back in the day, I don't know how many times I was warned, like, don't have any showable tattoos, don't get any tattoos on your arms or anything, or something that you can't cover up. That was always the thing. And I think that kind of was questionable if you were getting a position as a chef, because you don't give a fuck if your chef has a skull tattoo on his arm. You don't give a shit if it's like, no, no, no. You just care about the food he's making. Is it making it good? Is it making it in a way that's obtainable and up to standards? Is he following all the processes and stuff? I mean, when I went to trade school, there was a whole section that was developed for engineering, carpentry, woodworking, HVAC, welding, farming, agriculture. And then the other side was culinary, nursing degree, early childhood development, cosmetology, all these other things. That's why I asked about the female thing behind it, because that whole left side of that school was mostly primarily female, and there was a few chefs that were sprinkled in, a couple kids that wanted to learn how to cook. So when I look over there, every time I walked over, I just saw a bunch of people going around and doing all these positions, and it's weird to see how, like, it's for everybody. Cooking is for everybody. If you have patience, it's for you. I mean, you can be a shitty chef and you can get better. That's what makes it such an amazing thing for people to start and try.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in the professional cooking world, though, the female presence is actually a minority. In culinary school, there were only a handful of girls there, and even today, in a lot of the professional kitchens, there, the female head chef is a rarity. Um, it's really a man-dominated world. I have a young woman that works for me right now, and she is a great cook, great person, and could be an outstanding chef one day if she really wanted to continue to pursue it. And I feel like there should be more, women chef in the kitchen. I just feel like it's like hard for them in every other male-dominated industry, though, that to get the respect or the opportunities to take those positions. It's tough for them.
And it's also difficult because if you look at any kitchen in general, I mean, when you guys are busy, it's just people crawling on top of each other, trying to get orders out, trying to make sure they're doing everything. Like, it's a very personal thing when it comes to cooking. When you're making a meal or something, you don't want anybody in your fucking space. You're okay with sharing, but if some person's involved 24/7 critiquing you and doing all this type of stuff, it gets hard to be able to focus on what you're trying to do. It throws you off and you start to get angry. When you start to get angry, it only gets amplified because when you're in a kitchen, what degree of the kitchen is it always at? It's usually
Hot.
pretty
Yeah.
fucking hot.
Yeah.
I'm like, imagine when you are getting overwhelmed and you're wearing a wool sweater while it's 100 degrees or 150 degrees. That's literally what it's like. You're fucking itching. You're screaming, like, I'm trying to make a McGriddle. The dude's like, I need a hash brown. He's like, fuck off with your hash brown. Give him some apple dippers. I don't care. It goes into that whole realm because I worked in housekeeping at a hotel. So I knew that there was two positions in the industry, at least when it came to this, was restaurant business. Don't get involved in there because people are getting hired and leaving every 2 weeks, and I wondered why that was, and that was because of the yelling and screaming. And then housekeeping had a lot of anger problems with it as well. But do you think that a company would look at the fact that somebody's a woman and feel like they might have the urge not to hire them only because of the fact is chefs scream at each other, that's how they yell their orders out. That's how they get this. Do you think that would throw off the environment of the kitchen if you had a large male audience of chefs?
It may be hard for her. She just have to kind of come in there and gain the respect. It's just like anything else out there. It's about respect. And if you want people to follow you, they have to want to follow you, and they're not going to follow you unless they respect you. So I feel like the best tactic that I've always had, whether I'm a woman or a man, when I go into a new kitchen and I have to take the lead, I have to earn their respect first. They're not going to give it to me. They will respect the title to a certain point. They'll do their jobs because they know they have to, but there's going to be certain situations where it's like, okay, this person could do this, or they couldn't do it, or they might do it the way I want them to, or they might do it the way that they want to. How do I get them to do it the way that I want them to? So you got to kind of go in there and give a little bit of respect, and then get some respect back. And if a woman can do it the same way, it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, as long as you go about earning that respect the right way. It might be a little bit harder for a woman to earn that respect just because the man is not as willing to give it to a woman. But I feel, though, at least in my situation, it never really mattered to me whether you were a man, a woman, black, brown, orange, green. As long as you treated me right and what you were doing made sense, then hey, man, I'm going to follow you and I'm going to give you that respect.
Well, you come from a better experience, I guess I would say, because the fact is you would do a catering food truck. So what the thing is that you probably have a small amount of workers that work for you, so you can develop a more personal connection with them. When we look at a large kitchen or staff in general, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen Hell's Kitchen or something, and I'm watching all the competitive chefs go back and forth, and there's there's a lot more guys and there's a few women sprinkled in, and I'm looking at them, and I remember the one girl started crying because she forgot to bake something wrong, and she was like trying to get sympathy from everybody, and all the professional chefs were like, "Fuck you, you messed up," and started going at her. I was like, this is completely different than usually when like someone like if someone starts crying or a female person starts crying, people go like, "Oh, it's okay," like when you watch like Jersey Shore or some shit. And next thing you know, I mean, actually, they're probably the opposite. They're probably screaming at each other too. But like just watching Hell's Kitchen and seeing that reaction, like you get to see all the other women chefs be like, I could tell she's trying to get sympathy from the guys, and I'm like, yeah, like does that throw off the environment of the kitchen? Because if someone fucks up, it messes up the whole process of the kitchen.
Yeah, we're all connected. We're all waiting, we're all leaning on each other in one way or another. We just tell you, if you're gonna go cry, do that shit in the walk-in. There's no place for that kitchen. Take
Get
your
in the
tears to the
get in
walk-in.
the fucking freezer. Get in the freezer.
It's like Tom Hanks, and there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in the kitchen.
Walk your ass in that freezer. You cry by the lamb chops, damn it.
I mean, when I was a younger chef and I was a little vindictive, I used to have like a goal to at least make one waitress cry every night, but that was just, me being an
Oh, make one. How would you make them cry? Just like
It's
put
just,
something with onion in, put something with onion in there, and then give it to them.
you just, they come in with some special order, and you're not, no, we're not doing that, or no, just goofy stuff.
My cousin works as a waiter, and he sent a picture of the one of the receipts that they print out when they type up your order and print it out for the chef. And I was looking at it, and he sent this picture, and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, it's just what the dude ordered, fries or something. I messaged back. He goes, dude, look at the bottom of it. And I look at the bottom. He goes, this guy has a goatee, so make his food extra good. I was like, damn, I had no idea that they do that, like as like jokes and just play back and forth with each other, because you want that camaraderie when you're in the kitchen, man. I mean, how many times you get put in a pressure situation if someone like if you piss off the chef, and you're a waiter, they're not going to make your food immediately. But if or if you're friends with them, if you're close with them, if you start to know them, they're going to make sure that you're a priority over someone that doesn't know them that much. I mean, it's literally like the movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah.
We're freaking that movie ruined me from going out to eat anywhere when he was like, I'm gonna add some dick cheese to this steak, and then puts it down his pants. I'm like, no way, no way. He goes, how about a little bit of sea salt for the steak? And then he grabs his a head and starts itching it, and dandruff is flickling all over it. And I'm like, oh no, oh no, this is Red Lobster. This is what it is. It's Red Lobster.
Yeah, one of the word, like, yeah, that's definitely the epitome of like chain restaurants and the shit that goes on in those places. Definitely
So
not good.
how did how did you decide to branch off and do a food catering truck? And what do you like? How what'd you even decide to call it?
So after working in all kinds of different kitchens, restaurant, food establishments, from just little luncheonettes to working on ships and boats to bars, restaurants, nightclubs, then getting into like retail food, like, the whole supermarket changeover when they started to put these like food courts and cafes into them, and doing the whole like prepared meal selections where you come in and have your dinner already made for you and put together, and you just go home and microwave it. The whole rotisserie chicken, fried chicken, all that stuff. I just got sick of working for other people and being like middle management, because that's what I was. Like, I had to deal with bosses coming down from the top with these really cool ideas and initiatives, and this is what we're going to do right now, even though everything you're doing is excellent and your sales are up and your labor's down and you're hitting all your numbers. And then I'd have to take that stuff and then go to the crew and be like, all right, guys, this is what we're doing right now. Even though everything's going really great, we got to try and do something else that's probably going to mess it all up. And I just got sick of it, like seeing how nobody really cared about the crew or the workers. Like, I got these guys performing at a really great level, and we were kicking out all these records. But when I went to get like a raise for somebody or get their status changed from part-time to full-time, it just wasn't there. They weren't trying to do it. And I got, I just,
I just want to say, coming from a place where I've always kind of worked and I've really tried to build personal relationships and get to know people. Like, I don't have many jobs that I've been in, because most of the jobs I've been in have been like years and years and years of working towards. But that personal connection you get with someone, especially with a job, makes it the most important, I would say. Like, I don't care if you even pay me 11 or $12 an hour, rather than I could be making 20 at a company I would be working for that wouldn't give two shits about me. Like, I'd rather work for someone that gives a shit, that knows my name, that knows what I like to be called, knows my birthday, knows all this type of stuff. Like, some of the best parts about my old job were the people there. It's the reason why I stayed so long. I mean, the fact was, when it was my birthday approaching, they knew I wasn't going to work my birthday. So they just gave me a birthday card or something the day before and was like, happy birthday, and a hug or something. I was like, this is fucking perfect. Like, I don't want to be babied, but at the same time, I really like that someone actually gives two shits about me, gives me a call on my birthday, texts me. It's like, thank you for understanding I'm a person, having that connection in there. I mean, some of the biggest complications in just businesses in general is the fact is they get too big for their britches.
right. Yeah.
A nice small family business, or something like a food truck or something that you're interested in, your workers, you know them by their names, probably a little bit about their family history, as much as they've devoted to share with them. Because when you're in a kitchen, it's an intimate relationship, not only with you and the thing that you're making, but also the people around you. You have to get to know the people around you so you can feel comfortable and you can understand them. When you only have a few workers that work for you, you guys know each other. You guys are able to sit down, have a beer afterwards, be able to, shoot the shit. You're able to fight for them if they need it. You're able to be a shoulder to cry on if they need it. And having that in a kitchen or just a business in general, it's going to be way more productive and way more beneficial of an experience than if you go to a giant fast food chain that only gives two shits about the chicken sliders or some shit. I'm like, well, fuck the chicken sliders. I want connection, damn it.
Yeah. It got really hard. I had a crew of over 50 the last job I worked at. And like you said, it's hard to create all the a personal relationship with all those different people. It becomes very taxing and draining. And then like you said, you're asking them to do a lot. You're working at a minimum 8 hours a day, sometimes 12, 15, 18 hours. You see them more than your actual family. You spend more time there than you do at your house. And you're asking a lot of them, and then sometimes they ask things in return. And you're put in a position where you can't do it because it's against company rules, or the boss doesn't like that, or something else. And it just got hard for me. And after 25 years of doing it for someone else, and people constantly telling me, why don't you do your own thing? Why don't you do your own thing? Why don't you do your own thing? I said, okay, finally, I'm going to do it. I'm almost 40 years old at the time. I don't have any kids. I was engaged to someone. We weren't married yet. She got a job working at the University of Pennsylvania. So we got to move back to Philadelphia. And I said, if any time, this is the time. You know, back home, I got friends and family and network around me. Let's just go for it. I don't want to go and get another job. I'm only going to be miserable again in 6 months. I know it. So I started Farmstead Foods. I came up with the name because when I was working down in, I was living in Bethesda, Maryland, and I was working at Mclean, Virginia. I was working for a store called Balduccis Food Lovers Market. And the farm to table concept was really starting to kick off down there. And I was starting to make relations with different farmers and things like that. And I was like, it'd be really cool if I could just source all my ingredients from these local farmers and just make different menus from them throughout the year and supply people with food and different catering options. So when I moved back to Philly, that was the plan. You know, I'm going to start going to farmers markets. I'm going to start meeting farmers, and we're going to build a company from there. Even though I'd been in the business for 25 years and I knew how hard it was going to be and how expensive it was, I was just kind of idealistic about everything, and that it was just all going to work out. Everything was going to be great because I was doing this awesome thing. But it was really hard. I didn't have a lot of finance to start. I didn't have a lot of credit to start. So we started really small. I started with a tent and a table and going to different farmers markets around the area and just buying some food from the farmers one week and taking it back to our kitchen and making different soups and salads and stuff like that with it, packaging it all up and going to the farmers market and selling it as prepared meals the next week, and trying to generate that. We do catering too. So if you need a party platter, or you got a wedding or a birthday coming up, we can do that. And now it's going on year 6, 2020. We started 2014, and each year we incrementally grew a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Last year, December of 2018, we finally got enough money and credit together to buy the truck. And it just so happened that we found a truck too, after looking. I'd been looking all this time through the 5 years at trucks, but a lot of them were dogs. You can't imagine what people build these trucks out of. They just throw anything in them, and I'm like, that's not gonna work. It's like your kitchen cabinet. And
I learned that the hard way. My dream car is a 1969 freaking Pontiac Judge. And when I was a kid looking to get my first car, of course, I wanted a muscle car. I wanted something badass. Mostly, I wanted the fucking bench seat so I could just slide across to the passenger side without having to get out and walk around. And I was like, Dad, I was like, there's cars online. This amazing muscle car for 6,000, 7,000. This one's 4,000. He's like, what
mhm.
the fuck are you looking at? And I show him, and he goes, are you reading any of these? I'm like, yeah, it's just theft damage. That means what, a couple broken window? He goes, no, there's not shit in it. There's a lot more than that. He goes, you see where it says flooding? I was like, oh, what? It just, the water got too high and, it probably flooded the engine. Okay, that's cool. Let it run for a little bit. It'll pop all that water out. He goes, I got to teach you a little bit about cars. And it comes into that concept though, man, because what's interesting is this is a perfect job idea for you. This is a perfect outlet, because you say you've been going on for 6 years just doing catering. The best part about catering is you don't know. Every day is a new experience, because you never know what event you're going to be planning for. Are you going for a wedding? Are you going for a sushi bar? Are you making food for toddlers for an 8th grade class or something? Well, so guess what? Somebody probably has a fucking peanut allergy, and then the whole class can't have peanuts.
Right.
But you get to stay on your toes with it, and that's what makes cooking a lot of kind of fun to enjoy too. Because yeah, you could be a home cook, you can cook for your family, you know what they like, you know what you like, you can cook the same thing over and over and over again and get perfect at it. But when you're in a kitchen, you got a whole variety of menu that you don't know what is going to pop up when. How are you gonna who are you gonna feed? What temperature they like it? Do they want something else thrown in that's gonna change up the whole idea of it? It's not something you can just autopilot and do.
No, no, and that's why I do it, because whenever I get into something where you can autopilot, it only takes me about 6 months to figure out how to get that autopilot working perfectly fine. So then, every day becomes Groundhog Day. You're totally checked out. Your life is mundane and boring. Doesn't matter how much money you're making, your bank account be stacked to the gills, and you're just like, yeah, it feels like the same day over and over and over again. And then when a little change does happen, it's so hard to deal with, because you're like, no, I don't know how to deal with change. Everything's supposed to be the same every day. Where every day now, like, I wake up every day and I might be tired or exhausted, but I don't have that feeling of like, oh, I have to go do this again. I'm like, yeah, what are we gonna do today? What kind of crazy shit is the universe gonna throw at me right now? Like, am I gonna have to put on my plumber hat, my electrical hat, my mechanic hat on top of my chef hat, or what's gonna happen? It's always an adventure, man. It's never dull.
Now, with just cooking in general, out of all the things that you cook, what's your favorite?
Oh, I hate this question, man. I really, really do.
I can give you mine. Mine's you take 2 slices of bread, you put a cheese slice on each piece of bread, you put that bitch in the microwave with some
Oh.
pepperoni on there. 20 seconds, bro. Get your
Is that a
life
Maryland
together.
thing?
Oh my.
Is
I
that
don't
a
I don't
Maryland
know.
thing? Because like I dated a girl and she asked me to make her grilled cheese one time, and I was like, she was from Maryland. I said, okay. So I got out the frying pan and I started putting butter in it. She was like,
It's not even grilled cheese, dude. I'm not toasting that sucker. I'm putting that bitch in
I
the
know,
microwave
I
to where the
know, and that's what she said to me.
ah
She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm making you a grilled cheese." She said, "With the pan?" I said, "Well, how else do you make a grilled cheese?" She said, "My mom always just put it in the microwave."
nah, if it's a Maryland thing, you just dump Old Bay on that motherfucker.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you poor girl. Your mom should not. No, she shouldn't be cooking for you. That's horrible. If that's what she calls grilled cheese.
I wouldn't. For me, I wouldn't say it's a Maryland thing, just because I learned it when I was in Florida when my brother showed me, because we were staying at my
Okay.
grandparents' house in Florida. So I was like, oh, this doesn't count. But that's true. But it's crazy because that's what's interesting about just doing a food truck in general. Like when you're going to, you cater around Philadelphia, you cater around Maryland, you carry all these different places. You start to notice that the culture there, like when it comes to food culture, is completely different. I mean, like somebody will be like, "Oh, we're from Baltimore. We dump Old Bay all over here," and we're from Maryland, which is kind of like Baltimore, so it's still Old Bay. But then you go to like Philadelphia, there's like Philly cheesesteaks doing it a classic way. You go to Chicago, it's a deep dish pizza, and it's like you get to see all these people's different flavor profiles. So it really keeps you on your toes. Do you try and adapt your menu compared to where you are going?
Yes, we actually absolutely have to. Over the last year, I've kind of done a wide variety of different menus, and the one we're working with right now seems to be a good fit for all of the different uh, flavor palettes and eating habits of people. But yeah, it just in like we don't even have to go outside of the state, or outside of the city, depending on whether you're in South Philly or you're in Northeast Philly or over in West Philly. Everybody's going to have a different way of eating things. So yeah, when we're in certain areas, I got to have a lot of like healthy dishes. It really gets mind boggling too, because it's like, all right, where are we going today, and which item do I have to go on heavy versus where we were at yesterday? Yesterday, everybody was eating the brisket sandwich. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be in an office complex out near King of Prussia. Oh, we better have a lot of falafel bowls because these people are like healthy out here. It's crazy. You really, and the weather also is a key factor. If it's too hot,
Oh yeah.
people aren't
You
going to want
can't
to
you
eat
can't have
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't like I remember my work used to give out free lunch, so it was good on them and I can't really shit on them for this, but the whole factor was it's a cold ass day and you make cold subs.
Hmm.
Like Give me the soup.
Right.
Give me something warm to heat me up. I've been outside all day. I don't want to be eating a cold turkey sandwich. I want to be eating like a nice warm chili or a nice warm chicken noodle soup or something. The weather plays a big impact, especially when you're out in the environment just feeding people or catering to them. Like people are coming up to the truck, you're going inside and giving them food. People want really something depending on the weather. I mean, for me, I'm a big fan of Honey Smacks, so I don't give a fuck what day it is. What if there's a tornado outside, I'm still eating those suckers. But when it comes to the factor of your menu kind of changing up with the health options, that's a big thing going on now. Like
Hmm.
people want to watch people eat like shit through food reviews, but nobody really wants to do it themselves. They want to eat healthy. We're becoming
Hmm.
this, oh, perfect you 2020 with all these diet cleanses and all these trends. Does that get difficult for you to be able to do your basic just kitchen roll in general? I mean, cooking a falafel doesn't seem like a lot of fun compared to making a nice like steak sub or making a nice something that really melts down.
It does. The most frustrating part is because people say want to eat healthy, but then if you put an apple next to a bag of potato chips, 9 out of 10 times they're going to grab the bag of potato chips. So a lot of times I have to have these healthy options on the menu, and a very small percentage of the people eat them. You know. Uh, but what we do, like our falafel bowl, I'm gonna say, is really colorful, flavorful. It smells delicious, and when meat eaters see it, they're like, "Yo, what is that?" Because we do the two color quinoa, red and white quinoa as the base, and then I do 5 spice roasted veg. We mix up the veg depending on whatever's in season. Right now we got parsnips and red peppers and broccoli and Brussels sprouts in the mix. And we use like that Asian 5 spice blend to really kick it with flavor. We roast it and then throw it on the flat top to heat it back up again. And then the quinoa and the tahini, and then our little colorful edible orchid, which is our signature little garnish on there. So it's really nice, man. It's big and heavy and fulfilling. So sometimes we go to like catering events, and I offer, the vegan option as not one of their main options. So like when we do a catering event, I give you 3 main options and 2 sides for a set price. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, we have a few like vegans, so do we have to use one of those main options? I say, if it's less than 10 vegans, no problem. We'll do the falafel bowl for you. But I'm not going to write it up on the menu. You have to tell those people to ask us when they get there. Because what happens is, if I put it on the menu, a bunch of extra people are going to order it that aren't necessarily vegans. And then when the vegans come up, I don't have it. Those are the types of challenges that I have to kind of work through in making the menu and making sure that I have uh, the options for the picky eaters. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think secret menu items are probably the best. When it comes down to like when Popeye's chicken sandwich is going crazy, I bet you immediately threw a crispy chicken sandwich on your menu. I mean,
We were doing a crispy chicken sandwich for 4 years before frickin' Popeye started doing it, and I was just like, these fuckers stole it from me. I swear to God,
that's the
they
same thing Chick-fil-A was probably thinking. Chick-fil-A was probably saying the same shit. I swear, look, I'm going to give you an insight into the future. If anybody does a fucking fast food place that serves a taco, Taco Bell is going to lose their fucking shit.
Right, right. Well, yeah, they're
That
all
is the
dipping into
only
it.
place. That's the only place. Like Chick-fil-A, that chicken sandwich, that's everybody eats chicken. So it's like, fuck you. I can make a chicken sandwich. So that's not going to be a big problem with anybody else. McDonald's has one, Burger King has one. But if you start doing a fast food taco, Taco Bell is going to grab the kernel and they're going to jump the shit out of you and beat the living hell out of you because you can't just do it. It's theirs. They own that market.
They should do
Yes,
it.
it's good.
They should do a chicken taco at KFC. See what happens.
They should morph up. Honestly, a pretzel taco, they have some weirdest combinations now. I'm just like, how do you experiment? Like you owning a food truck, how do you ever just start to cooking? Like, where do you get your inspiration to create with a new idea or something that, ever go out of the realm and create something completely different? I mean, I knew one time if I added like a different spice to something, I could completely change up my whole meal. Or if I put something inside of something and made something crazy. Next thing I know, I'm enjoying a whole different experience.
there's a couple different ways the inspiration happens. Usually out of necessity. We either have too much of a certain ingredient, or the seasons change and then an ingredient comes back on the market again, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I want to start cooking with that again. Or we don't have an ingredient, and now we have to figure out how do we kind of come up with the same desired result without this one vital piece of the puzzle. uh, and then there's just those freak accidents where the chocolate spills into the peanut butter, and you come up with Reese's Pieces cups. But it's sometimes it's customers will come. So that's a cool part about being on the truck and me being on the truck, is that people will come up and they'll say, "Can I don't eat this one thing," or "Can I have that?" And I'll start to think about what I have on the truck, and I'll go, "Oh, well, how about we do this?" Like last night, a lady came up and she was gluten free. She was like, "What gluten free?" She said, "Do you have tacos tonight?" And I didn't have tacos on the truck on the menu, but I still had taco shells from a menu 2 days before on the truck. And at first I was like, "No, we don't have tacos." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, I could do tacos." And she was like, "Can you do the quesadilla the way that you're doing it, but do it with the taco shell?" So we got like a black bean puree that we were spreading on the base of the quesadilla, and the cheese and the chicken, and then this roasted red pepper sauce and sour cream. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll just do that on the taco shell instead." Um, and now I have like a new taco that I wasn't doing before. I just because some lady wanted gluten-free tacos, stuff like that.
It's crazy you went and did that, because I know so many places that would just tell you to fuck off. Like if
Honestly,
you were a customer being like, "Hey man," like I've been to a Chinese restaurant and been like, "Hey, can I get the General Tso's chicken?" And this is just an example. It's a kind of a crappy one, because if you're getting General Tso's chicken, you're going to want that sauce on there. That's the main reason why you're getting it. But if I went in there and asked to not have that sauce on there, they would just stare at me and be like, "The fuck? No, you're getting it anyway, and you're going to like it." And I'm like, "All right, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you." They have all the power at a Chinese restaurant.
that's like the difference between us and all the other food trucks out there. Like they're very like, "No, you can't change the menu. We only do this one thing, and that's all we do, and we're not doing it any differently. And you have to take it the way we take it." And I see that. I see that like in the apprehension of like their faces when they're like they want to ask, but I can see they're scared. And I'm like, "Well, what do you want?" I We're in the service industry. We are there to provide someone a service. So if you take that like fuck you attitude, "I don't need your business," I don't know how long you're going to stay in business, to be honest with you. Um, and it's my business, so I want to do that special thing for you, because you're going to remember me. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, "Wow, those guys were really nice, and they went that extra mile, and they did that thing that no one else is going to do for us." And maybe we're going to call them up when we have our kid's graduation party next month, or my daughter gets married in a couple of years. it, it's that type of mentality that I try and instill in all the team and everything like that. You're the customer's not here for you, you're here for the customer. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good mentality to stay behind, though, just because of the fact is a lot of places really lose that. When you become a giant corporate place, you lose that mentality, not only with the people you work with, but also your customers. That's why when you look at a lot of family businesses, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't care about that new place that just opened up that's closer and cheaper. I'm going to this place." And you're like, "Why?" And it's like, because I have a better experience when I go there, knowing the guy behind the counter. "Oh, that's Dave," or, "That's Bobby behind the counter." You know what I mean? That's so much better of a feeling to be able to do that, because they're truly like they're into your life a little bit too. They're not completely out of the realm. That creates a better experience. When you go to a food truck, you're catering to all these people. It's nice to develop a relationship, but at the same time, they're there for the experience. They don't want to get something and be eating something if they don't like the person there or the place that they're at. When a place is more accommodating, I mean, for a better example than the fucking stupid General Tso's one, my buddy hates pickles.
mhm,
We go to McDonald's. He specifically asked for no pickles. They said,
mhm.
"Okay." And they put it on the receipt thing. He goes, "Watch this. I'm going to get my burger and it's going to have pickles on it." And I'm like, "Do you ask for it?" And they put it on the receipt. It does. I think they have to add that on there. Like that means they would go out of their way not to listen to you. And he goes, "Just fucking watch." Next thing you know, he opens up his burger. See that? There's fucking pickles on it. I'm like, "How? You literally had to add those on there. It would make extra work for you."
Yeah, because they're already made. That's the thing. And so when he went, I know somebody else that was like this, and the reason they did it was so they knew that their burger was always going to be fresh. It wasn't going to be one of those in the slot, because they actually had to like go and make a burger without pickles on it. Because in those fast food places, they're not waiting for you to order the burger before they make it. That shit is just already sitting there, and somebody just kind of grabs it out of that little burger chute, puts it in a bag, and sends it out the door.
Wait, you're telling me McDonald's isn't a farmstead place? Farm to
Nah.
table? Are you kidding me? My life is a lie. I thought they were just painting flavored colored shit and handing it to people. I mean, if you look at McDonald's, like anybody that wants to sit there and look at their food a little bit more closely and care about what they're putting into your body. But like you get that McDonald's cheeseburger, you don't even look at it, you just start eating it and you think it's a burger. My buddy stopped the other day and took a picture because his McDonald's burger had mold on it.
Oh, that's hard. That's got to be fucking old ass burger. You know how long it has to sit out to
Exactly.
get mold?
Listen, like it was a slight little bit of green to it. He goes, you know how many people would have just bit into this without looking at their food, and then they would have just swallowed it and not given, like, how many times does that slip through? Because when you're pulling into the drive-through, you reach into the bag, next thing you know, you're chewing on a burger. You're not even paying attention. You're looking at the road or something. Your kid's fucking dosed out in the back because he's feeling a sugar crash after eating a Happy Meal. All those nuggets throwing him asleep gives you a little bit of patience so you can drive, so he's not throwing your ear all off. But seriously though, like if you look at your food a little bit more closely, I'm surprised it took so long for people to start doing the farm to table type things. You're seeing a lot of businesses start to do that. I mean, I get it because it's a money aspect. I mean, convenience is everything, kind of. You need to be fast if you're going to be a business. You need to be effective. You don't want to be pouring more money in than you're getting out. But you probably experience it a way better feeling and a way better thing when you're able to go to the store and get the ingredients from the place in the local area and then create it into your food. It's much more fun to work with.
Absolutely. It's a better connection. Again, everything we're talking about is that personal connection that you have to something. It's just not like autopilot or a zombie type, like you said, just biting into your hamburger and not even looking at it. Like we have that connection. I have that relationship with that person that I go to and buy the stuff from. I know like the eggs are coming from this farmer. And I know like the chicken, sometimes you go out and I'll get to go and like throw some chicken feed out, and it's like, all right, I know in a couple of weeks I'm going to get a chicken, and I helped feed the chicken that laid the egg, right? Um, so yeah, it makes you value everything a little bit more. It gives you a little more, uh, I guess, that good feeling, that warm feeling inside, knowing that like you personally had something to do with it. You're not just a cog in the wheel that somebody's whipping you to keep rolling on. It's like you're choosing to be here. You're choosing to bring positiveness into the food, Uh,
Yeah, because most of what you go out to eat anymore, I mean, how many times are people just on their phones, not experiencing anything? And, if you want to get into the art of plating and all this shit that comes in with food, but it's all about the overall experience, sitting down and hanging out with your friends and having an enjoyable time, not just trying to get through it, which so many people are trying to do nowadays. If I had to ask you what's your most memorable experience doing this so far, what would you say it would be?
um, my most memorable experience doing this so far, I would have to say, would be when I was down in DC for Obama's inauguration. I was working at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, and uh, it's the most memorable just because of the sheer amount of people and food that we did that day. We did over $90,000 in sales in just 4 hours. It was ridiculous. I mean, I've done dinners at the Kennedy Center for the Kennedy Center Honors Dinners where it's 2,000 people plate up. Uh, and that's a huge amount of people and food to do at the same time. But the energy that was there on the mall that day was just kind of surreal. It was almost like a rock concert, but even larger. Uh, I just never seen so many people, I think, in one place at one time, and and fed so many people in one place at one time as we did that day. It was ridiculous.
You should go to Chick-fil-A on Sunday. You'll probably see the same amount of people there.
Not on a Sunday.
Yeah, because people are showing up forgetting it's fucking Sunday, and then they're all pissed off because it's Sunday and they're not open. I've had that happen. I've been to Chick-fil-A and literally I'm sitting outside. I'm like, oh, it's Sunday. And then dude pulls up in his car and goes, yeah, man, doesn't it suck it's Sunday? I'm like, I mean, it's for the Lord, I think. And he goes, doesn't matter. I want Chick-fil-A. I'm like, all right. I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, I'm just as upset as you are that I won't have that Chick-fil-A sauce that we all love and wish we could bathe in. I'm sorry.
It's weird now that, like, when I was a kid, there were, places closed. They weren't open. And they weren't open 24/7, and there were certain days where they just closed, and you couldn't get it. You had to go there before they closed. We got to get to Stock's Bakery before they close because they're not going to be open tomorrow. We're not going to have bread or butter cake or whatever. And now it's just like 24/7 convenient society, anything, anytime, at your fingertips. Call Go Puff, they'll bring it to you. It's just weird. Like, and then when they can't have it, they don't know how to deal with it. I see the biggest problem with society right now is people don't know how to handle no. You can't have that.
Yeah.
They
We're
just
not used to it because everything, what is it? The customer's always right. And sometimes the customer's not right. I don't know how many times I've seen on like a television show where literally some chef is just been like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's always like, I'm sorry, whatever. Biting your tongue, biting your tongue. I'm like, the person's obviously wrong. Call them out on it. Let them know, like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but you're not right. This is what's going on. This is how it's got to go. People need to be put in their place a lot of times. A lot of times people get this overinflated ego, especially when you're just giving yes all the time. It's a big thing with participation trophies. I'm not saying that someone's got to be a loser and someone's got to feel like shit, but you should know if somebody wins or loses.
no,
It's
honestly,
not just it's not to show off.
somebody does need to
It's
lose. Somebody does need to feel like shit because that's all part of the experience. Eh, How good does winning feel if you've never known what it feels like to lose? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, a loss makes you feel like, oh shit, I'm gonna come back and come at this a lot harder the next time, and I'm gonna win, so I can feel what it's like to get that win.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
I
after a loss, I was always like, oh fuck, like I fucked up, I messed up, like call me out on it, I'm sorry. And my dad was like, you did good, man. I was like, yeah. And he goes, just train better, and next time you come back at it, you'll win. I'm like, all right, and that was more motivation for me to get better. But now we're just like, everybody's a winner, and suddenly nobody wants to try anymore because you're gonna get something anyway.
Yeah, but then no one becomes good at anything, honestly, because like, what's the challenge in it? Yeah, I'm great at that. Why do I need to keep trying at it? I feel like the things that I'm really, really good at, that I excel at this point, are things that I used to struggle with, things that like I couldn't do. And the only reason I got really, really good at them was because I couldn't do them and I had to try. I had to really focus on it and think about what I was doing and keep trying different ways to figure it out to then perfect it. Whereas if you just do something perfect the first time, you don't even really know how you did it. You're just like, yeah, all right, I did it and it was good. Awesome. Next.
Well, mankind has always needed resistance to start thriving. We've always needed something to stop us. And when we don't have that thing, we don't have something that's trying to make us better. We look for that resistance with other people, and we look for that resistance in interaction with just our friends, people around us, such as screaming matches, such as arguing. You cut me off in traffic. Oh, yeah, fuck you. Oh, okay, grandma, fuck you too. Like we look for that resistance because we need it in our everyday life, and when you don't have it, you're not complete. You don't feel like you're just going to be on autopilot where you're doing the same shit over and over and over again. You need that slight change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's something strange, man, because we're living in some crazy times now where you're seeing a lot of conflict and people starting to get angry at each other very, very easier. And it just seems like nobody's ever really been told no. Like you walk into a place, can I get a burger? No. That's what I love about a Chinese restaurant. Can I get this? No, you're gonna get this. Okay, okay, you're right.
Yeah. It's tough. I see it all the time. I definitely do. Like I said, I'm in the service industry. I want to make sure your experience is good and we want to make your food the way that you're going to want to eat it. But then there's other times where you see people, they're just trying to take advantage of a situation. They're trying to get a little more for a little less, or they don't want to wait. So they like try and cut the line some weird way. That's the type of stuff that I call people out on. That's where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do the soup Nazi to you, back of the line. You know,
Yeah, no
no soup,
butts, no cuts, no coconuts. Damn it.
no soup for you today. You're not getting your French fries. That type of stuff. I'm just like, take your arrogance and go somewhere else. It's not what we're doing here. But as far as like, you wanting your cheesesteak empanadas without a certain sauce, sure, man, I can give you the other sauce. No sweat off my back. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That type of no, I don't understand. When they're like, can I have it without the onions? Sure, man. You're still paying the same price for it, and I'm gonna make a little bit more money, and I don't have to put onions on your sandwich.
Yeah, shit.
But people are like, no, you gotta have the onions. I'm like,
It's because you're breaking the system, and people don't like it when you break the system.
yeah, they get all fucked up on their routine. Like, I have to put onions on it. Right.
It's like, I got to do my job. It's in the code book. You don't understand what they do to me here at Chick-fil-A. The reason why we're so good is because we get beat with whips if we don't do what we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I've brought that up so many times. I'm like, Chick-fil-A, their employees, you never see a video of any of them snapping, and I wonder what it is. Like, do they just start doping them? Like it's like a Illuminati type thing? I'm like, come on now. They're
No,
so perfect.
I think it's in the process of choosing the employee. You know, Disneyland does the same thing.
Disney's scary as shit, man.
There's a whole psychological test that they make you take, and based upon, and it's the same group of like, I want to say 25 questions asked in like 6 different ways. So they want to make sure that your answers are consistent, that you're not just telling them that you think they want to hear, but it gets down to the type of person you are. It's that whole, I don't know, there's like a letter acronym, each personality. Yeah. But they know that you're a people pleaser, and they hire the people pleasers. My wife worked for Disney Cruise Lines for 6.5 years, and she works the window on the truck. And there are certain instances where I just can't do the thing that the customer is asking. And it's funny because I know I hear them asking the thing, and then I see her turn around and just kind of look at me, because she cannot tell the person no. So I have to come to the window and explain to them that, like, sorry, you can't have it that way in this instance. But and I don't think it's any training on their part. Like, they didn't brainwash. It's not like the military where they break you down and then build you back up to what they want you to be. I think they just find the people that have those traits within them already, and then just keep bringing them out more and more and more.
Honing in on their best ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want, it's that bad apples thing. You don't want to bring in somebody that doesn't fit the goal or the mindset, because then they could possibly start to poison the other people within there. Like, hey, why are you so nice all the time? Why are you always bending over backwards for that customer?
That's probably a more logical answer, but I still like to think that Chick-fil-A's Illuminati, so probably gonna run with that one.
Yeah, I mean, those dudes, she definitely has some serious money there. But what they do, they might not like gay people, but they also like care about their employees, and they want to have them off on Sundays.
Just say you're welcome. Stop saying my pleasure. God, that's all. I've been trying to get them to say you're welcome for so long, but nobody ever slips up. And I'm like, that's what they're doing on Sundays. They're giving you all brainwashing programs or something. That's what they're doing in the back. That's what they're doing in the freezer next to Tiffany, who's crying her eyes out next to some lamb chops.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, I really appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, man. I really want to give you here a minute at the end to kind of promote your Instagram page, promote your site, promote everything so people can find your business and maybe possibly hire you for an event.
Yeah, man. We are, you can find us Facebook, Instagram, at Farmstead Food Truck. Our website is www.fsfphilly.com. We are based out of Philadelphia. We service New Jersey, parts of Maryland, and all over Pennsylvania. We do birthdays, graduation parties, weddings, anywhere you need food, we can do it if the venue that you're doing it at doesn't have a kitchen, no problem. We got one. We'll roll it right up on site and kick out some really, really great food. I don't know what else to say, man.
Well, you got to shout out that Pinterest.
Oh, Pinterest, I don't do that. Sorry.
See, nobody does Pinterest, but I really am hoping one day someone tosses out a fucking Pinterest on me.
No Pinterest. I'm not on the Twitter. Yeah, my wife just started with this TikTok stuff. I said, how many social media apps do I need on my phone? I said, I see everybody's TikTok videos on my Instagram and Snapchat. Why do I need TikTok?
That's the thing. What happens? That's what happens when you get a participation trophy and nobody's a loser because you create a fucking TikTok. And I'm never doing it. I'm sorry. I see too many videos. It's a place where mental health happens. That's what happens.
Like, no more. I can't handle another app on my phone. I can't. I don't have enough minutes in the day to watch another string of people. No,
I got Dragon City on my phone, and that takes up enough time and money. My damn bank account's linked to the thing, and I can't take it off. So every time it's like, would you like to pay $4.99 for some gems? I'm like, I really do want some gems right now. And next thing I know, I'm like, I just spent $500 on gems. I don't know what to do. My bank's like, what the fuck? Did someone hack your credit card? I'm like, no, I just am a dumbass that doesn't know how to stop buying gems on a virtual video game where I get dragons.
Yeah.
The guy's like, dude, you need to hold your money better. I'm like, I save all my money. He goes, yeah, but you're going to burn through it with Dragon City. I suggest deleting it off your phone. I'm like, I'm in too deep, bro. I'm in too deep.
Yeah, you can't go back now. You've invested so much into it.
Well, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.